Part 2 of Great Patriarchy. It is a devastated world. In downtown Los Angeles and American cities everywhere, everything is destroyed by an alien and a grim reaper. Two different beings, both evil, destroyed most of the earth. And from this, someone rises up, a girl, transformed, deformed, who has to save the world, or die trying, or die swearing. She talks a little bit about politics, about how one political group of children of a circus, fight another political group, one of Roman soldiers and twisted psychopaths and half primates. But both political groups are nullified by a giant Zetrobot, a giant alien robot from outer space, manufactured by the evil king who devastated the world. Rosemarie talks about her past. Being a freedom fighter, she fights off alien-human hybrid zombies, giant Zetrobots, and whatever is left of King Zetro's reign of terror. She talks about the time she was 4 years old, about being an innocent child, thinking about her parents, but living with her half-sister. About when she was a child, she met a young boy at age 3. Now, these two did not get along. He destroyed her sandcastle. Just shitty memories. So Rose fights off some Wooloo zombies, and she's trapped down 6 in Los Angeles when an unexpected help arrives in the form of Gino. Gino, in a crude and ugly vehicle, rescues Rosemarie and takes her back to his makeshift hospital, which is formerly a children's courthouse. All the while, she has to protect her igloo. The igloo, and nothing can ever happen to it. What's in that igloo? But what exactly is in the igloo? Is it drugs? Is it gold? Is it silver, diamonds? Is it a new car? What's in that igloo that she has to protect so badly? Well, we move on to that hospital. So an hour later, after the rescue, Gino operates on her. So there's magnets on the roof, and it keeps the Zetrobots and Zetro Ray away from him and his guardians. So it's a safe house it was formerly a children's courthouse, which in real life, I volunteered at. So Gino is operating on her, and I reveal some things. So Rosemarie, she was born with hemophilia, but not severe. But it was recessive, and after the devastation changed her body, she became severe hemophiliac. This is based on my disability. So the severity mixed with the alien virus. If you remember Grim Planet, there were different ways that people were devastated. They were killed by the Kala Kush poison fruit. They were killed by an advanced medication that's supposed to cure diseases. And the Zetrobot bombs that devastated buildings, destroyed things. Her body changed and became a severe hemophiliac. So she has to infuse to get her blood, her immunity back up so that she can clot. And it's every 3 or 4 days. So this is based on my real life. Actually, for me now, I have a medication that goes once every 30 days. But for most of my life, I had to infuse prophylactically. So my disability is hers. So she has my problems. So that's what I wrote. So also, too, her skin color, because it's turned gray, her homeostasis is broken down. And so she now has to wear that black leather vests to keep herself warm. And so Gino's operating. So it's synovectomy Gino's performing. I had synovectomy performed on my left knee. And so synovectomy is when you're operating on the knee, you're taking out iron deposits that have damaged the tissue. I have no tissue in my left knee that would allow me to run very fast. So Rosemarie has some knee issues, and Gino's operating on her. So she has to infuse before she's operated on. So it's a little bit based on my real life. So she describes Gino in detail. Like Rosemarie, his skin was transformed. His whole skin turned blue, and it mutated with rat DNA. So he has sort of an animal nose and ears and some fangs. He was born in East LA. He used to manage a mariachi band. He was actually the performer. So the real Gino Juarez and the real Rosemarie were classmates of mine in college. So I put them in here. So Gino and Rosemary in this story are two different people. Gino is more into music and goofing around, and Rosemary is more angry, more temperamental, more action-packed, more stunt woman. And so they're two different people, and they kind of mess with each other. So Gino's transformed into this kind of monster. He's still, like the real Gino Juarez plays the guitar, so I have Gino here playing guitar. And so he talks very much like last century, what are you doing? Damn. Like he can kind of stress out his vowels in his words. Very low key, kind of things like that. So even though Gino's a doctor and he's responsible, he still talks like a pendejo at times. So he can talk very laid back and very dumb at times, but he's very smart. So he's somebody who suffered from the devastation with rat DNA and dog nose and ears and bat ears and fangs. So he's half animal, half human. But he's spent, based on the fact that his dad was a doctor, he gave up being a mariachi singer for being a witch doctor. So the surgery is almost finished, and Rosemary talks to Gino about burying Huicho, the very same Huicho that helped bring about the end of the world. Gino's is Huicho's nephew. So, the backstory is Huicho took Gino to the whorehouse, learned how to have sex at 15 years old. But Gino burned Huicho's body into ash and spread his ashes over the ocean. But he didn't like him very much. He didn't get along with him. He thought he was pathetic, and he really hated him after the devastation and blamed him being responsible. But Rose quickly reminds Gino that it wasn't exactly their fault. Yes, they were responsible for promoting alien fruit and toys that would destroy buildings and kill people, like terrorist bombs and miracle medicine. But they were being misled. She points this out. She reminds Gino that both Violet, Huicho, and even Jesus, they were being misled by the Grim Reaper, by Jerry the Reaper and Zetro the alien, into bringing about Earth's end. So she tries to find some humanity in these poor fuckers that were so stupid. All they cared about was money and advancing in the world and power and fame. But they never saw how bad Jerry the Reaper was for causing death and destruction and not caring about anybody anymore. Or even Zetralok, who is still alive and is now trying to bring about his own reign of terror in his own kingdom on a foreign planet he knows nothing about. So during this time, they talk about different groups. So they talk about opposing forces. So basically, all the political groups. Here I mentioned a skeleton net right at the top. It's basically a 1990s internet, a bare bones internet that they have after the devastation. So post-apocalypse internet. So Gino talks about the opposing forces. The Skull Bashers, a stunt woman football team, kind of like NFL Blitz. The Mexican militia, a boxer and his fat video game comic book nerd cousin, a Russian fighter, an old man who speaks Mayan, who fights for the border for rights, and talking cat, and some weird giant robot. Now, on top of that, you have Marcus Navarre, who represents the Panther Party. You have Chris Kringle Clarity, who represents the Junior Klansmen. Then you have the Pink Society with Laura Schaefer and Rudy Hesper with his neo-Nazis. So there's so many political factions going about. And here we bring in Roth McGoth, who got injured. So Roth McGoth got his wrist and knee wrecked from a motor scooter accident on the way out of Calico to wherever he was going to go. So he bumps into Gino and Rosemary. So Rosemary and Roth McGoth, they get to know each other better. She recognizes him from his commercial. So the backstory is that before Roth McGoth became a rodeo clown with the Children of the Karn, he was like he ran an empire like Ronald McDonald. So he was like Krusty the Clown, but he's not like he talks with a British accent, but very vulgar at times, using slang and very kind of laid back, but kind of bitter. He had a bitter wife. He had an empire of making custom made hamburgers and French fries and shakes, and that was his whole thing. So Roth McGoth talks about his backstory. He talks to Rosemarie about how he had to help kill the parents of all the children of the Karn, and then trying to get out of there before the inevitable massacre by the Zetrobot on the Roman bus and the children of the Karn. So he's hiding out. So there's an explosion going on. I don't say exactly what the explosion is, but it is related to somebody invading the hospital. Here I introduce Oyeya Wambui, which is a combination of two African names. So Oyeya Wambui, her son Kamau have invaded the hospital. So in this one incarnation I have here, here's what she looks like with this like technical football gear with all kinds of deadly hooks and heavy concrete shoulder pads and gas pellet wrists or back of the hand. Here, her son Kamau has a torch. In this version, he's about 17 or 18, and she's 35. In this story here, Kamau's about 10 years old, and I think Oyeya is almost 30. Kamau means silent warrior in an African language translated. So Kamau is deaf and cannot hear. He can only communicate by sign language. And Oyeya is a very powerful, like Serena Williams. Serena Williams and Gracie Jones. If you think of Gracie Jones and Serena Williams, that's basically what I based her on. Is she good or bad? I kind of made her more evil. So Rosemarie and Oyeya get into a tussle, and Oyeya knocks out Rosemarie. And that's when we get to the second flashback. So here we're back at Belvedere Park. It's a week later after the first flashback. So Jerry had to apologize to Rosemarie. And she's building a prettier sandcastle. Now, in the sandcastle, there are cactuses or cacti. And so Jerry's looking at it, and he's asking her about the how dangerous the sandcastle is. You know, he said, "Don't they stab you? Don't they pick you?" So Jerry tries to do a karate chop to her castle. He tries to destroy her castle, but he gets upset because he got cactus spikes all over his hand, and he starts swearing. And Sophie, his mom, says, "Gerardo, mente tus palabras." And Violet kind of chimes in and says, "Do you need help?" "Oh no, it's okay. I can clean his hand." And Jerry scowls at Rosemarie. "So yeah, what you going to do with me now?" So they're still little children, you know. Rosemarie is 4 years old and Jerry is 3 years old. And Violet's like, "Oh, we're going to go home right now, Rosa." But Vile, Jerry's just about to swear at me again. And she pulls her by the ear. It's Violet, not Vile. So, yeah, Rosemarie calls Violet Vile, V-I-L-E, instead of Violet. I'm not sure how old the sister... I'm thinking in Grim Planet, Violet is about in her 30s. And in this one, she's like a teenager. So she's obviously old. She is obviously an adult, but and much older than Rose. But in Grim Planet, she's much older. She's like, I think she's in her 30s. So here she's a teenager, and she has to babysit or actually be the guardian of Rosemarie because her Rosemarie's parents were too sick with cancer to take care of her. So out of the second flashback, Rosemarie wakes up to Oyeya Wambui. Now during this scene, there's a lot of exposition, a lot of talk about what Oyeya's plans are. Oyeya is an immigrant from Africa. She came to the States with her son Kamau, who is deaf. He can only do sign language. ASL. He can only do sign language. So he can see, but he can't hear, and he can't speak very well. And then here is Rascal Brown. If you think of an 18 or 19-year-old Flavor Flav, if you think of 18-year-old Flavor Flav, with just that big smile with all these different colored teeth and talks too much, and he's a character who doesn't really die. he can't die. He lives. He somehow survives every stupid pratfall and comedic falling and stupid shit like that, slapstick, but he never dies. So they're all part of this dangerous NFL blitz type dangerous football team. But this is what Oyeye wants to do. She wants to bring back slavery, but not in the black slavery to white slave master sense, but in that people who've committed crimes are subject to be slaves. So it's sort of this 13 colonies white slave perspective. Now, before there were black slaves, there were white slaves, and they were called the indentured servants, and they were people who committed crimes and had to be slaves to pay off their debt. But once they paid off their debt, they were free to go and free to be who they wanted. So that's why black slaves were a great economic thing. Of course, that didn't turn out very well now, did it? But this is important in American history. They don't teach this at school, by the way. So anyway, she's trying to bring it back, but for all colors, for black, white, Asian, Indian, Middle Eastern, Mexican, Colombian, whoever, right? So if you committed a crime, you gotta do slavery for whatever period of time until you paid up your dues. So she's trying to reintroduce this back. And, he's dumb. Rascal Brown, he's dumb. He goes along with it. Kamau is doing what his mom wants him to do. So Rosemarie and Gino, obviously, what they want with the hospital is they want the hospital to cater only to the Skull Bashers, the name of this group. And Rosemarie and Gino are like, this is a hospital. Gino loosely follows the Hippocratic Oath. You help everybody, not just certain people. So they can't do that. But Gino and Rosemarie notice that their skin is dying, that they're dying from the diseases that the alien Zetrolok from, this is Zetrolok's home planet of aliens, by the way, that you see in the background. There's Zetro right there before he became a machine. And so this alien virus is killing them. And one of their representatives, Katie Brown, comes forward and tries to stop an argument. But that happens after the Mexican militia come in. And here I have some Russian Zmelin Makta, which means go fuck yourself, I think, in whatever language. So there's some Russian, I don't remember what it says, but I did translate it proper to make sure it made sense. But we have Russian in here, some Spanish. Alfredo's like, if you help us, I don't know the words. So Alfredo Gomez, who's based on a real life boxer, El Perro. So this boxer, his cousin, he's trying to say something to Rosemarie. He's trying to say so his cousin translates. This is him with his talking cat, which does not talk until later on, because if the cat talks during this fight between the Mexican militia and the Skull Bashers and then Rosemarie and Gino for the hospital. So what they want is they want asylum at the Symphony and Concert Hall where Rosemarie bases her operations, and the igloo. So they're talking about, so we're bringing back the igloo again. And so Rosemarie's like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll help you out, just get us out. So while Oyeye Wambui and her son Kamau and Rascal Brown and the rest of Skull Bashers are talking, Rosemarie and Gino and Roth McGoth are held prisoner, chained up or just held at gunpoint. So they can't do anything until something else happens. So Katie Brown, one of the Skull Bashers, confronts them, and she commits suicide. She blows herself up and causes a real problem. There's an explosion. There's smoke everywhere. And it's like there are just, some people are dead. Katie, Roth, maybe. Katie for sure is dead, but Roth McGoth, she's not sure. 2 others are dead. One of them is Pablo, the old member of the Mexican militia, and Kamau. Kamau, her 10-year-old son, is dead. And Francisco and Alfredo realize that their grandpa is dead. So Oyeye Wambui holds Kamau in her arms. The Mexican militia, their politics is about Mexican, Spanish-based politics. More about Mexican culture, Day of the Dead, traditional, Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day, very much Mexican traditions if they take over the United States. And Oyeye Wambui and her Skull Bashers have another perspective. So it's more political fighting. Here, Durak. She basically, I know what she says here. She says, you idiot. How could you do this? So there's a fight going on. And all this are these two fighting. The two groups, I'm sorry. The two groups are fighting. So Alfredo fights Joe. Joe is one of the skull bashers. So everybody's fighting. And Rosemary says, stop it now. People are dead. She's really conflicted. She sees people fighting all the time. And it's like, what the fuck is this? People are dead. We need to stop and mourn, not fight again. Originally, when I wrote this story, Katie Brown, one of the skull bashers, not a very important character, was just going to shoot herself in the head. And maybe that would have been it. And they would have just mourned. But I wanted it to be like her death with the grenade exploding caused other people to be dead, and that caused a fight. And then people started fighting. So, you know, while Rosemary's chained up and Gino's chained up and Roth McGoth might be dead or not, they're just upset. What can they do? But help arrives. And that help is in the form of Rai Tsukurushima, a child about 9 or 10, maybe 11 years old, a very young child, preteens. So he's a child who's very smart, who can build anything out of garbage. He can build the most innovative technology out of anything. He can't see very well. So he uses these infrared goggles to see things. So otherwise he's blind as fuck. So he can't do anything. So, you know, he's blind here. So what he does is he now takes off. I based him off of miles, tales per hour, Japanese culture, and an actor named Nakamura Sakuya when he was a child. So, you know, he's going to rescue Rosemary. You know, he's saying here, here at the beginning, I say, ikimasho, which means let's go. And hayaku, my Japanese is pretty good. So, Rose, we got to go now. But it's a stupid fight, and we need to go get Roth. We got to think of us first, stressing the vowels here, and regroup. I said, you're a goddamn doctor. Who comes first before what? So there's a poison gas that comes out of the fight between the skull bashers and the Mexican militia. So Gino's saying here, you and I come first before whatever the fuck that gas is. So come on. So they take the Scrapzilla, and Wright goes on his little helicopter. He's like, oh yeah, kochira. So, oh, hey, this way. We're going to go towards this direction. So they're going to go on the freeway. It's the freeway that would lead to like Cal State LA, the 10 freeway. So the Interstate 10 freeway heading west towards downtown. And then there's this giant Zetrobot. Another Zetrobot similar to the one that was in Calico and that struck Rosemary's helicopter. It's an evil eye, and it's us and them damn. Oh shit. If that bot gets to the igloo, or our investments are going to get fucked for sure. So we have to go back for my guns. So before Gino can respond, Rai fires a strange baseball-shaped capsule right into the eye and then shreked. So with all his bravery, this little boy who should be playing, you know, ball, should be playing video games, he's actually helping out with technology fight the enemy forces. So here he says in Japanese, ha, dekita. That's like a stress of a vowel. So I kind of pay attention to Japanese dialect, so I know how to write this kid. I know how to write the other characters with different dialogues, so you know who's talking. So tomorrow we'll do the Symphony and Concert Hall. We're going to go back to the base of operations, and we're going to meet other characters where 2 have become 3, or 1 has become 2 and 2 has become 3. 3 will become 5. Until tomorrow.